The rain fell in violent sheets the night everything in her life collapsed. The bridal stage glimmered beneath the chandeliers, guests whispered behind polished hands, and the scent of roses filled the hall. But beneath all that beauty sat a woman whose world was shattering in slow motion. Aisha's fingers trembled against the armrest of her wheelchair as she watched the groom's family walk out, their faces stiff with disgust, their rejection echoing louder than the thunder outside. They left behind the gifts, the garlands, the untouched plates of food, and her. Not because she did something wrong, not because she didn't love enough or give enough, but because the accident that stole her ability to walk also stole their willingness to accept her. In one cruel moment, she became a burden instead of a bride. And as she sat under those blinding lights, her wedding dress pooling around her still legs, she realized she had been abandoned in front of an entire world that would forget her by morning. Before the story continues, dear viewers, if you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps spread more stories like these. The guests dispersed one by one, some pretending not to look at her, others staring too openly, and her mother tried to wipe her tears without letting anyone see. Aisha stayed silent, her throat burning, her dreams dissolving faster than the melting ice in the leftover drinks. She had spent months believing that her disability made her weaker, less worthy, less wanted, and tonight seemed to confirm that fear. But little did she know, this heartbreak was not her ending. It was the painful push towards something far more extraordinary, something that would change not just her life but the lives of people she never imagined would need her just as much as she needed them. The days after the broken wedding felt like walking through an endless tunnel with no light. Neighbors whispered whenever she went outside, pitying her in ways that suffocated rather than soothed. Her mother did her best, brushing her hair, helping her get ready every morning, encouraging her to continue her tailoring work from home, but Aisha felt like she was simply existing, not living. She stitched clothes with steady hands but a silent heart, each needle pulling memories she wished she could unlive. Despite everything, she forced herself to stay strong, because the world was already eager to label her fragile. But strength has a way of running out when you're holding too much pain alone. One afternoon, while she was sewing near the window, she saw something unusual outside. A little girl standing barefoot beside the gate, holding a torn school bag and crying quietly. Her clothes were wet with dust, and her eyes were swollen with fear. Aisha rolled her wheelchair closer and called out gently, asking if she needed help. The girl hesitated but didn't run. Something about Aisha's calm presence made her stay. After a moment, the girl whispered that she was lost. Her school had closed early, and her father, who was supposed to pick her up, never came. She had walked too far and couldn't find her way home. Something in Aisha's heart shifted as she listened. She knew what fear felt like. She knew what it meant to feel abandoned, even temporarily. Without thinking twice, she asked her mother to help the girl inside. They gave her water, cleaned a cut on her knee, and helped her rest. Aisha carefully examined the girl's torn bag and realized she could fix it easily. So, she began stitching it back together with soft, precise movements. The little girl's eyes widened with wonder as she watched the broken seams become whole again. For the first time in weeks, Aisha felt something warm in her chest. Purpose. Just as she tied the final knot, there was a desperate knock on the gate. A man's voice pleaded for someone to help him find his daughter. When Aisha's mother opened the gate, they saw a man drenched in sweat and worry. His clothes were dusty from running, his eyes red from panic. His relief was overwhelming when he spotted the girl inside. He rushed to her, dropping to his knees and hugging her as if he feared she would disappear again. Only after holding her for a long, trembling moment did he finally look around the room, and that was when he saw Aisha. His gaze lingered on her wheelchair for only a fraction of a second, but unlike others, his eyes did not shift into pity or discomfort. Instead, they softened with gratitude. He introduced himself as Hamza, a single father raising his daughter alone after his wife passed away. Life had been unforgiving, and he often juggled multiple jobs just to survive. Today, he was late because a shift hadn't ended on time, and he feared the worst when he couldn't find his child. When he saw the restored bag, his expression changed again. It wasn't just gratitude now, it was admiration. He noticed the precision of her work, the patience in her posture, the kindness in her presence, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he found himself unable to leave immediately. He asked if he could pay her for fixing the bag, but Aisha refused, saying kindness shouldn't demand payment. That one sentence stunned him more than anything else. Over the next few weeks, Hamza returned, always respectfully, always with a reason, but increasingly because he wanted to see the woman who had brought comfort to his daughter in a moment of fear. He brought clothes that needed stitching, curtains that needed mending, and eventually, he brought small treats for Aisha's mother as a gesture of thanks. Each visit added a new layer of warmth to the house, a new breath of life to Aisha's quiet world. The little girl adored Aisha and often sat beside her as she worked, showing her school books or telling her stories about her day. Slowly, something unexpected began to grow, a friendship that felt natural, pure, and comforting. Hamza appreciated her intelligence, her kindness, and her quiet resilience. Aisha admired his dedication, his humility, and the tenderness he carried beneath his rough exterior. But neither dared to acknowledge the feelings forming quietly between them. Aisha believed she was broken, undeserving of a future with someone as hard-working and good-hearted as him. Hamza feared overstepping, afraid she might think he pitied her or wanted to save her like some tragic charity case. One day, after dropping off some fabric, Hamza waited until Aisha finished her work. He watched the way she guided the needle through cloth, the way she steadied herself when she shifted, and how she never let her disability define her ability. Something inside him finally cracked open. He realized he didn't see a broken woman. He saw a remarkable one. A woman who had every reason to give up but never did. A woman who made his daughter laugh again. A woman who stitched not just cloth but hearts. But when he gathered the courage to express his feelings to his sister for advice, she reacted exactly the way society would have. She asked him if he was out of his mind, questioned why he'd choose a woman who couldn't walk, and worried about how people would talk. Hamza left that conversation shaken, his heart in conflict. That night he stayed awake, questioning whether he was strong enough to fight a world that punished those who chose love over appearances. Days passed without Hamza visiting, and Aisha slowly realized how much space he had filled in her life. She tried to convince herself that his absence meant nothing, that she had survived worse, but the ache inside her betrayed her strength. Her mother noticed immediately and gently reminded her that those who walked away were never meant to stay. But Aisha didn't want to admit that she had hoped, even briefly, that someone could see her as more than a burden. Just when she convinced herself to move on, there was a knock at the door one evening. She turned and found Hamza standing there, holding his daughter's hand, his expression full of emotions he could no longer hide. He apologized for being away and admitted that life had forced him to make difficult choices, but he had finally realized something important. Every good thing in his life came from moments when he didn't let fear win. His daughter tugged at his sleeve and held up a small drawing, a picture of Aisha sitting in her wheelchair, with the little girl and Hamza standing beside her. 3 figures under one sun, one family. What happened next changed everything. In front of her mother and with trembling sincerity, Hamza asked for something that left Aisha breathless, not out of shock, but out of the unimaginable kindness behind it. He didn't ask to date her. He didn't ask to see her more often. He asked for the honor of sharing his life with her, if she felt she could trust him with her heart. He said he knew love wasn't about perfect bodies or perfect lives. It was about choosing someone, again and again, even on the hardest days. Aisha felt tears slip down her cheeks, because for the first time in a long time, someone wasn't offering her pity, they were offering her partnership. Their marriage was small but filled with genuine warmth. Instead of judgment, they received blessings from those who understood the courage it took to love without fear. The little girl held Aisha's hand the entire ceremony, promising never to let her feel alone again. Their home became a place of healing, patience, and deep understanding. Together, they built a life where Aisha's disability didn't define her limitations, it defined her strength. Hamza helped her with appointments and mobility exercises, not as a caretaker, but as a supportive partner. Aisha helped the little girl with homework, mended clothes that Hamza once struggled to afford, and slowly built a small online tailoring business from home. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was real, made of shared struggles, quiet victories, and the kind of faith that makes people believe in miracles again. If this story touched your heart, dear viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us continue creating meaningful content. Before the ending, please comment, "Kindness changes lives." In the end, Aisha often looked back at the night she was abandoned on the wedding stage, and instead of pain, she felt gratitude. That rejection had pushed her straight into the path of someone who didn't see her wheelchair. He saw her worth. And she realized that sometimes life removes people from your story not to hurt you, but to make room for those who will rewrite it with love.